Hey guys, it's Sebastian from AskSebby, and today we are going to talk about how to do a status match to Caesar's Total Rewards Diamond status. The benefits of having Diamond status is that you get a lot of different perks. One of the big ones is that you don't need to pay resort fees, and the other one is that you get a free stay in Atlantis, which is in the Bahamas. Today we're going to walk through that whole process, what you need to have, and how you can kind of match along in order to maximize your value. As a starting point, when I say status match or status challenge, you're basically taking status you have from one place and applying it to another place. So basically saying, hey, I have this status, can you either match me that status or can I do something to keep that status long term? The easiest way for us to get status is going to be applying for specific credit cards that offer this status as a default benefit. The main reason for this is if you had to get status any other way, most of the time you're going to need to stay something like 50 nights at the hotel per year for that specific chain. So again, getting that credit card, even if it has an annual fee, typically makes sense because most of these cards are keeper cards. And keeper cards are basically cards where you're paying, let's say, $100 in terms of an annual fee, but you get a free anniversary night every year of you keeping the card that lasts for 1 year, meaning that that free night, if you can get something like $150 to $200 in value for it, then again, you're getting value just by keeping that card. For normal viewers of the channel, I think all of this is pretty straightforward. For people who are new to this, especially given the topic, I'd recommend either rewatching this part or watching some other videos that we've done talking about different topics related to this. With this one, we are not directly matching over to total rewards. We're taking status we have over here, so let's call this A status, and then we're matching it over to Wyndham, which is B status, which has a match with total rewards, which is C status. If it's confusing, if I'm covering things too quickly, I'd also recommend going to the blog post because I think it's a lot easier following text sometimes because the instructions are a lot clearer. Blog post is down below in the description box. We'll start from the C side, which is the total reward side. Here we want to get diamond status. You could also get platinum status, but again, I feel like the benefits aren't necessarily as good. You do have to still keep paying resort fees, so it might not make sense. Really just depends on your circumstances. This means that if you want diamond status for total rewards, you need diamond status for Wyndham. If you want platinum, then you need platinum status. Wyndham allows you to status match over from a lot of different partners, but the ones we are going to focus on are the ones that you can readily get. If you're someone who does not have more than 5 new accounts in the last 24 months, then I'd recommend getting the Chase IHG card just because it gives you platinum elite status by default, which matches over to diamond status. Again, the IHG card is a keeper card. It makes a lot of sense for people, and the benefit is that it seems to match over to a lot of different statuses, including Best Western, including other places that you might consider staying. With IHG, you also have one of the top tier statuses over there. With a lot of other programs, you're typically getting something towards the bottom. The Chase Hyatt card doesn't really work here just because you're only going to get Discoverer status, meaning that you only match over to platinum. Jumping over to the Hilton side, if you have gold or diamond, you match over to diamond. So this is pretty easy because you can get either the Ascends card or the Aspire card, and you end up having those two statuses. Another option is getting the American Express Platinum card, which also gives you Hilton Gold status. For that, I think it really just depends on which card makes more sense for you. Your mileage is going to vary. Pick the thing that makes the most sense. I think if you are someone who's just after the status and you are someone over 524, then the Ascends card is probably the cheapest option, just because you can always downgrade this to a no annual fee card in the second year. With cards, if you downgrade them after the first year, then you're going to pay the lower annual fee. So Hilton has a pretty interesting setup that I won't discuss here, but pretty easy downgrade paths. For Marriott and Starwood, I think this is pretty interesting because I think someone at Wyndham hasn't bothered updating it. But if you have gold status at Marriott or platinum status, then you get diamond. But if you have gold status at SPG, you only get platinum, and for platinum, you get diamond. SPG Gold is now Marriott Gold because they've merged, and I think for most people, if you are looking just for the status, the Amex Platinum card makes a lot of sense just to get that gold. Again, pick the right card for you. If you're someone just looking for a lot of different statuses for different chains because you don't like to stay at one particular place, then I think the Amex Platinum gives you a ton of value. There is a form for you to do this match. One thing I noticed was that when I took screenshots of my status, of my online status, they did not take it. And then only afterwards, a week after, when I was like, hey, why isn't this working? Let me take a picture of my membership card that showed the gold status. That's when they actually did the match within 24 hours. So I'm not sure if that's an issue or if they just had a lot of a backlog because I did it during Thanksgiving. but something to consider. You might want to get the status from your credit card first, sooner rather than later. That way you can time this match for when you want to use it. So once you do this match, one big thing is that the status only lasts for 90 days unless you do a bunch of stays at Wyndham. For this purpose, for the sake of this video, we're not really going to bother with stays, but if you do stay there, if you do have stays lined up, then obviously this makes a lot of sense. For us, we're going to match over the total rewards right after. For this part, you might want to time it a bit differently depending on what you're optimizing towards. So if you have a trip coming up to Vegas soon, then I would probably match it over for that trip to make sure you get all those benefits. But if you're someone who doesn't have anything specifically planned, then the interesting thing is that when you match it over the total rewards, that status expires in January 31st of 2019. So whether you match it right now in December of 2018 or January of 2019, it's going to expire at the end of January. So this seems like it's a trend every year. So depending on you, you might want to actually match after this date. So in February of 2019, that way you get 12 months of status. You can do this Wyndham match already right now because it's going to last for 90 days. So let's say December 15th of 2018, December, January, February, March. So your Wyndham status lasts until March. That means that you can actually do the match over to total rewards afterwards and get it for a whole year. The other thing that we're not really sure of is what happens after January 31st. So can you match over again with that Wyndham status that you still have? If you can't, then obviously that's problematic. If you can, then it's an easy match. So you lose the status and then you just apply it again and you get it again. If you're someone who's risk adverse, who wants to make sure they don't burn this status for no reason, then I'd recommend waiting until February 1st just to maximize the value and the amount of time you have for this status. With Diamond status, I'm not going to read through all the benefits, but for me, the ones that make the most sense are going to be not having to pay resort fees and also that free Atlantis stay. I hate resort fees. I feel like they're the bane of my existence for Vegas because you can find really cheap rates that are very affordable, and the resort fees are going to be more expensive than that room rates. And again, if you look at the resort fees, they're not really providing you that much in additional value. Great, you have internet, you have pool access, whatever else. I feel like it's kind of one of those null points, especially for someone not using it. So again, if they gave you the option to opt out of it or something, that would be fine, but I digress. The interesting thing here is that for status, you have Atlantis stays up to January 31st. And again, you have to book it by January 28th, I believe. So if you want to double dip that, it might make sense to do the match now and then to do a trip in January. And then afterwards, you can do another trip in February 2019 onwards for the rest of the year. And the main reason is due to how the rule works for this trip. So you can only do one trip every year ending on January 31st. Double dipping this is obviously contingent on being able to match over again a secondary time in February. So it might be a gamble that might not make sense for you. Just really depends on you. Your mileage may vary. If you're someone who wants to go to the Bahamas during Christmas break, then this is definitely something to consider. If you're someone with a player 2, this ends up being substantially more valuable just because you can both do this match and this challenge, meaning that you can do 2 stays in the Bahamas in Atlantis, and it's going to be back to back. That way you don't feel like you're spending too much money flying there for a short trip. In the past, I do remember people saying that there was a minimum play, but I haven't really been able to find any data points for that. So if you are someone who has done this with Diamond status, please let us in the community know whether there is a minimum play, how much you need to spend, or how long you need to play, and also whether all games count, just because I feel like you can sit around playing poker and you can only lose the blinds and still be fine. Circling back to the beginning of the video, if you are someone looking to apply for any of the cards to give you that initial A status, pretty easy way to support our channel would be to use the links on our sites or the links in the description box down below. Hopefully that was helpful. Let me know if you guys have any questions. My question for you guys is, what are your thoughts on this? What's been your experience with this? If you've done this in the past before, let me and the community know in the comments down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps us out. If you know anyone else who'd benefit from what we just talked about, feel free to share this video with them because it's probably going to help them out. But otherwise, hope you guys liked it. I'll see you guys next time.